What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Discussion Lounge. We are here with our co-hosts Gio and Hector, the master of philosophy and the master of engineering. We got some topics to go over today. We're gonna kick it off with a topic that I thought was interesting that I saw in the news, and this is about the HR 1 bill, right? So this is something that has actually gone through the House before. And then it got like downvoted, in the Senate, and I think we're trying to get it through again. We just passed it in the House for the second time. Let me just break down what it is, and I think it's something super important, and also something again that shows that the Republicans don't have the best interests of the people out there. Anybody who's interested in voting, right? We've seen that they've been voting no on these things like 15 minimum wage. They voted no on the stimulus, so they're just voting no on anything that has to do with helping the people. So this is the name of it is actually For the People Act, and it's about 800 pages, so maybe more. So this is kind of the stuff that's in it, right? So national system for auto voter registration. Every state to provide online options for voters to register. Correcting voter registration and canceling or designating your party. You should be able to do that all online. Party affiliation, right? So for 15 straight days of early voting. So yeah, you can change your party affiliation. You can do 15 straight days of early voting. So they're trying to make this something that you can do nationwide, right? So they're trying to keep the voting places open for 10 hours, banning states from restricting mail-in votes and require states to prepay for postage on the mail-ins for these votes, right? Transparency rules for political ads, ending gerrymandering, which is something super important, right? These people get to whoever wins gets to kind of designate their own map according to all the voters in their district, and that creates unfairness in the voting procedures there. 10 years of tax returns now are going to be required for people that want to run for office. And yeah, like I said before, this got zero Republican support, and this is, I think, something that should be like the federal baseline nationally in every state. I don't think there's any reason why different states should have different rules. It should all be one solid thing all the way through. That way, I think it ensures that voting is copacetic as best as possible. Let me throw it over to Gio. What do you think, man?
Yeah, we know that the Senate is going to take up the bill in the next couple, I think next week. So we're going to find out how that goes. Um, it's questionable what part of the Democratic Party is going to do. I know if it didn't have any support in the Republican House, then it's probably not going to have any support in the Senate. So we'll see how it breaks down amongst Democrats and who's going to try to push some bullshit. But the Republicans have always, and conservatives have always tried to make it hard to vote. They've been claiming that there's like widespread cheating, voter fraud, like not non-citizens voting, and it kind of all like culminated in the 2020 election and the January 6th riots, right? With the claim that the entire election was bullshit, which is not true, right? There's no evidence. There's absolutely no evidence that voter fraud is like widespread. I don't know where they're getting this from, but yeah, I think making it easier for people to vote, especially people of color, is the right way to go.
Hector, what do you think, man?
There's a couple of things that the like you said, it's a 800 plus page bill, and it's just jam packed with so many things and so many changes. There were a few, well, not that you missed them, but there's a few other ones that are kind of more that resonated more on my end, that I think I see a significance, especially moving forward. You have another thing about another thing in there is about people that are, I think, 16 and 17 years old are able to register early. That way, when they hit 18, right, they don't miss that chance to vote, because it does happen, right? Certain people have certain birthdays that either fall close to it or after it, and it just makes it that much easier for them to get on board and have their voice heard. That's one. Second one, I think it provides it gives back um, the privilege of voting to certain individuals who have been incarcerated. So that's also, I think, a very huge step in terms of like civil rights, right? Because traditionally and historically, we have been stripping away a lot of freedoms and rights to individuals who have been incarcerated, and then they come out after they do their sentencing, and it almost feels like they're being punished again by having to not be able to do certain things, right? That some of them don't even are able to get certain loans. Some of them are not, like, some of them want to go back to school. They can't get student loans because of certain felonies or charges on their record. And again, it just feels like a double whammy, right? Like, you already served your time, you did it, and then you come back out and you just have to face society with this. So again, it's a huge plus, this bill. I did see part of the Senate, Republican Senate's speak and voice what they have to say. And I don't remember the guy's name, but this dude, he's a Republican, right, senator. He said that he's trying to argue, why are we making changes if our, supposedly according to the Democrats, our system is 100% like flawless according to them, right? Like, they say, oh, there's no voter fraud. They're trying to like bring in voter fraud again and say, wait, why are you making changes if there's no voter fraud? Well, obviously there's a big difference between making changes that is to help the people, right, to make sure that everyone gets an equal right to vote, versus like making laws that prevent like voter fraud. So this is not so much for preventing voter fraud, this is more for allowing more people to vote. And I mean, come on, Biden crushed Donald Trump last year, and I can only imagine what would have happened if this was in place before that. He would have gotten like double crushed, in my opinion. But yeah, I think this is a great one. I could see why the Republicans don't want this to pass. There's like I said, it's jam packed. Um, I think there's another I think provision or another rule in there that says that you know politicians can't like um they have to disclose like who gives them money. Is that correct? So yeah, so again, this is my opinion, a good step forward. I see it like a civil rights movement like type of bill, that I think is beneficial for me, in my opinion, like for not just for right now but for the future.
Yeah, for me, it's just like an antiquated system, right? Like, there's all this stuff like people go to these voting places and they have to wait in lines for hours, right? Because there's not enough equipment for people to get to do it quickly. They're going to these really small voting places, like maybe like a library or like a rec room at a park, and it's just not big enough for the amount of people that are coming in to vote. The the fact that you mentioned these Republicans and how they're trying to tie it to voter fraud, and like, oh well, if you guys are saying there's no voter fraud, like what's the need for all these changes? That's like the closed-minded thinking of these Republicans, right? Just because we're trying to make changes to make everything run better, has nothing to do with the fact that there was voter fraud or there was voter fraud. These are changes that should have been made a long time ago, right? Things like gerrymandering, things like people not being automatically registered. If you have a license, you should already be registered. Like, there should be no reason, right? All those things. The huge one that I like is the transparency rules when it comes to political ads, right? Like, we should know who is paying these politicians to run these huge ads that cost a lot of money, right? You're paying for airtime and you're paying for people to make these videos for you and edit them and put them up for you. Who's paying for this, right? Because all that stuff needs to be disclosed. Some of these people are getting money from shady places or from special interests, and that's something that has been discussed in the past for sure, as something that needs to go away or at least needs to be better looked at. And yeah, again, the zero Republican support, right? This is stuff that would help people on any side, right? We're just trying to help you vote. We're just trying to help you get registered, and we're just trying to make it more fair for everyone. Like, if you have a problem with that, then you know I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're trying to make changes. It's 2021. We're still voting the same way we fucking did 20, 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Yeah, there's time for a change. All right. We're gonna actually get into some sports stuff that was going around. It's actually this is a story that was going around, but then people involved were firing back and forth on Twitter. So it's kind of like been like over a week or so that this has been going on. We're talking about the comments between LeBron James and Ibrahimovic. I believe is how you say his name. He's a famous football player, soccer player. He has some stuff to say about LeBron, basically to what conservatives like to say, shut up and dribble. But he said that you should stick to sports. He says that athletes unite the world, politics divide it. Our role is to unite the world by doing what we do best. Athletes should be athletes, and politicians should do politics. So this was what Ibrahimovic had to say. And then LeBron fired back with a kind of like a lengthy response. Right, I'm gonna read it off here. It says, "I would never shut up about things that are wrong. I preach about my people, and I preach about equality, social injustice, racism, systemic voter suppression, things that go on in our community. I know what's going on still because I have a group of 300 plus kids at my school that's going through the same thing, and they need a voice. I'm their voice. I'll use my platform to continue to shed light on everything that's going on around this country and around the world. There's no way I would ever just stick to sports because I understand how powerful this platform and my voice is." Then he went on to go after Ibrahimovic, and he says, he's the guy who said in Sweden he was talking about the same things because his last name wasn't a Swedish last name. He felt like there was some racism going on when he was out on the pitch. LeBron said. "So I speak from a very educated mind. I'm kind of the wrong guy to actually go at because I do my homework." So that was LeBron's response to Ibrahimovic. I'm gonna shoot it off to you guys before I go about it. But Hector, you're a big sports guy. We talk about sports all the time. What do you think?
I think that LeBron is the wrong guy to go after if you are trying to go after him. And I will say that although he's not, he's just like us, he's not 100%, informed about everything. I don't think no one can be unless you're in part of that world, unless you are a politician, and unless you are covering politics, right? His job and his passion, first and foremost, is sports, is basketball, right? Um, but we can never question the guy's motives and heart because he has given so much to the state of Ohio and specifically the community that he grew up in. And, it's not a question of like, does he care for, the people, but he feels that he's in a position where many black individuals are not. He's in a position where he is probably the most famous basketball player now. He's the most well-known basketball player. He's going to go down in history as being, top three. And he has chosen to, speak his mind and be informed and also be the voice for those that don't have that position. And if he has every right to do that, I also understand for someone who chooses to not do that, like Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He said, "I'm just gonna stick to sports. I'm not. That's not gonna be part of my world." That's fine. But I think the issue for me is when you aren't able to distinguish between disagreeing with someone and then demanding someone to do something. Because I could disagree with you, but the minute I start demanding you to change your ways and change your mind, that's when I think the problem begins. So good for LeBron for standing his ground and speaking up because I think that's part of the issue, right? Like when you have someone just tell you that something is wrong and you just kind of take it, that's just you being silent. Um, So I think this is just another win for LeBron to say like, hey man, like it doesn't really, don't let anybody tell you, what to believe in, right? As long as your heart is in the right place, and then do it, and you'll be good. I also do understand where Slatan is coming from, and that documentary, The Last Dance, Michael Jordan, right? he he wasn't, he got heated for not, I think, endorsing someone that was running for politics, either a mayor or like a governor for the city, I think for the city of Chicago, right? Like it was the mayor or someone that was running for mayor. It was a black man running for mayor,
Yeah.
and he didn't endorse him when everyone thought he was going to endorse him, and he got so much heat for it. And Michael Jordan straight up said like, I'm a basketball player. I don't know anything about politics, and I don't even want to get into that world. I just want to play ball, and that's it. And he made that choice, and he stuck with it. So that was his choice. Satan is picking to do the same thing, and I understand where he's coming from, because I looked into his history, his past, and he's had it rough, man. In terms of his family, like his parents got divorced. His mom used to beat him. He had a drug addict sister. So he went through a lot before he became like this big star, right? And he did not grow up in the United States. He grew up, I think, in Sweden. Yeah, he grew up in Sweden, and I don't know what the political climate was when he was growing up, but just judging on his upbringings, it seemed like he was taught in very aggressive ways to respect authority, and to like not talk back, and to not say anything back, and to not do anything back. So I understand why he would say like, politics are politics. I'm not going to say anything. I just stick to sports, right?
Gio, what do you have to say?
I just have a few things to say. So this topic was framed with the question of who is allowed to talk politics, right? So I think everybody should be allowed to be political or talk politics. We shouldn't silence ourselves or others. If there are people speaking who are clueless or don't know what they're talking about, then we need more people speaking that know what they're talking about to sway the narrative. Right. I'm not in favor of silencing myself or others or relegating political discourse to a select elite, right? That we say, oh, only they can speak politics or talk about politics. If people want to say stupid shit, let it be public so we can make fun of them.
Yeah, this kind of takes me back to the Gina Carano situation, right? Where she was saying some political stuff, but there's a difference between getting involved, right, and doing the stuff that LeBron's doing, like building a school, having all these kids coming, pledging that they're going to go to that school and do the best that they can, being charitable, right, donating and being just this figure of you can do anything, right? Because LeBron also comes from a broken home, right? I'm pretty sure his dad wasn't around. He was, and I remember, Hector, I'm pretty sure you remember this too. When he first got signed to the NBA and he got a Hummer for his mom, everyone was like, "Oh, look, he hasn't even dribbled the ball yet on the court, and he's already spending his money." Blah 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 blah. Right? But nobody says anything when he's donating, right? When he's doing really good things with his money, and being this good role model for everybody. Nobody says anything then, right? And then, of course, growing up poor, like, yeah, as soon as you sign that deal, you're going shopping. Like, that's anybody. That's what you're doing. I'm sorry, but you signed your contract. The money's in the bank. The stimmy's in the bank. People are already crowding the malls because they got that 14 hundo, right? So, yeah, to be critical of that is stupid. And then, yeah, like sports. When has sports not been political, right? Especially for the black athlete, right? It's always been something that's been talked about. It's always been something that that has been a thing, right? Whether it's the Olympics, whether it's back in the day with Jackie Robinson being the only black player ever to play, or be able to play in the majors, all this stuff is ongoing and will forever continue to be ongoing until there is equality. Sorry, if you don't like it, that's on you. But Hector, I agree 100%. You shouldn't be telling other athletes what they should or shouldn't be saying on their platform. If you want to challenge them, go ahead, but be educated about what you're gonna say, because LeBron's no dummy, right? LeBron's like super smart. He's educated. He's well traveled. All these athletes are, a lot of them are well traveled and they've seen a lot more than we have. So I think they're worth a listen. So, but yeah, when they're saying dumb shit, like when Kyrie Irving is saying that the Earth is flat, then you make fun of them, right? And that's what you do. Uh, that's when you kind of be like, hey man, like you kind of not, whatever you're saying is really stupid. Maybe you should stick to playing basketball, right? That's not disrespectful because you're saying dumb shit, right? Or like Gina Carano, like, hey, I understand you have this certain view, but it's stupid as fuck for you to be comparing Republicans to Jews. Yeah, just maybe you should just stick to your Mandalorian role for now until you get better takes on, things like that. So, speaking of LeBron James, we got a whole lot of interesting news coming from the Space Jam universe. So, apparently, we got Lola Bunny getting a makeover, right? We have a bunch of Disney movies that got pulled. We have some Pepe Le Pew controversy where he's getting taken out of the movie now. We have just all this stuff following the Gina Carano stuff from Mandalorian, and just all the other cancel culture like Dr. Seuss. I haven't even looked up what was going on there, but apparently Dr. Seuss is an issue now as well. I have stuff to say about it, and I also actually have information about the Pepe thing, but I want to hear what you guys have to say first. Hector, I know you have a lot of stuff to say, so let's start with you.
So I want to cover mostly the cancel cultureness around Pepe Le Pew. But I think once you hear what I have to say, you will kind of, realize that my position is, and you'll kind of, get a sense of like what I would say about all these other things that are being canceled, right? Okay, so I've always found the idea of cancel culture very interesting. What started out as exposing people in power has now transcended into um, or it has transcended to include just about anything, right? I'm partially on board with the movement as far as exposing people, in power to swiftly remove them from their positions for their wrongdoings or what have you. I can roll with that. But like calling out a corporation, production company, book companies, or any other non like human entity, I have a problem with. And my main problem is motive, like the motive behind why we want to cancel these things, right? And let's take Pepe Le Pew for example. So you know what? First of all, like who are I want to know who the parents are that are like torturing the kids and making them watch this. Is that show even running still? Like where's the content coming from? Like where they just are they Googling this? Are they YouTubing like old shows and showing it to their kids and be like, oh, I don't like this? I don't know, man. It's just that part is like, dude, I don't even know where to find this TV show. Looney Tunes, where is it running?
Yeah, I think they probably just watching like old Looney Tunes stuff, maybe, or maybe the first Space Jam. Like you could always run that back, right? And he's doing his thing. So I mean, the content is forever out there.
Forever out there. That's right. Okay, so yeah, there's more and more on a more
Hec-
serious note.
Hector,
Yeah.
real quick, it's you can find on HBO Max, Looney Tunes. I just looked it up.
Oh, so okay. So now that people are starting to get access to these streaming services, we're kind of getting like throwbacks, right? Like we're watching these things and we're like, what? No way, that guy. Okay, so, anyways, so Pepe Le Pew was first introduced in 1941. Okay, in 1941. This was the same era where black people were still being forced to work way after the Civil War ended. Okay. Same era that marked the end of World War II, where their gender roles were very clear. The men go out to fight, and the women hold it down at home and protect the children. The same era that had training manuals for supervisors on how to manage their female employees, which highlights institutionalized sexism. This is the era of Pepe Le Pew. So, what did you expect, America? Right? So, now these are the facts. And basically, like, if anyone has a problem with it, then they could rightfully choose to not partake, right? Like, there's a part of like watching the show and seeing what he's doing and not liking it, and then questioning, like, why would someone create this show with for children and fill it with what seems to be this guy trying to rape this other chick, or right. um but even if you ignore all that, if you look at the logic of how the show is set up, it's a skunk that mm, um that thinks a cat is another skunk, so he goes after it. It's a skunk. Like, how much, like, I mean, how smart are skunks?
Yeah, I mean in the cartoon, right? It's always the cat like running into some paint that paints her
Yeah,
like a skunk, right?
right.
And then she's getting away from him because skunks smell, right? It's
Mhm.
like more not that he is being aggressive, and, but go ahead. I
Yeah,
want to.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I'm glad you brought that up, because not every episode is him like pushing himself on her. There are some episodes where his smell, either by cologne or I think he gets dipped in paint, so that scent goes away, and now she's interested. There's episodes where
Oh.
she basically like kidnaps him, locks him up, and be like, "I'm gonna have you all for myself," and he gets super scared and like, "I don't know if I want this anymore. I
Okay,
thought I
okay.
thought I did. I thought I did. I don't think I'm ready for this."
Gio, I want to hear what you had to say before I reveal. I have the reveals, dog. So,
The reveals. Okay.
Gio, what you got?
Okay, this is just my anti-capitalist take on this. These corporations, they have an image to defend, right? So this is largely, I think, a market-driven phenomenon, and these entities are doing what's in their best financial interest, right? They want to make sure they're not going to be canceled, so they're self-censoring. I'm not 100% behind censoring content like this, even if they're legally allowed to, right? It's their own IP. But if kids want to watch, I don't know, they should just show it and then just have parents provide context. It'll give an opportunity for the parents and the kids to interact, right? Because we don't really have that anymore.
So in Peter Pan, right? So the film portrays native people in a stereotypical manner that reflects neither the diversity of native peoples nor their authentic cultural traditions. It shows them speaking in an unintelligible language and repeatedly refers to them as redskins, an offensive term. Peter and the Lost Boys engage in dancing, wearing headdresses, and other exaggerated tropes. So this is like quoted from the people from Disney who like are saying why, and these weren't pulled. They just are now like you have to be over 7 years old or something like that to watch them. There's like a parental control on them now. For Dumbo, the crows in musical number pay homage to racist minstrel shows where white performers with blackened faces and tattered clothing imitated and ridiculed enslaved Africans on southern plantations. The leader of the group Dumbo is Jim Crow, which shares the name of laws that enforce racial segregation in the southern United States. For the aristocrats, they said that the cat is depicted as a racist caricature of Eastern Asian peoples with exaggerated stereotypical traits such as slanted eyes and buck teeth. He signs in poorly accented English, voiced by a white actor, and plays the piano with chopsticks. So Disney thought, hey, this is sketchy. Maybe you should be old enough to, for I guess somebody to explain to you why this looks this way or why they made this to look that way. Uh, Maybe if you're too young, what I don't understand, Gio. If you could explain, or Hector, what is the fear that what that a young kid's gonna see this and what?
So I guess the fear might be that they will see this. That, like, for example, I think there's a quote in Peter Pan where they refer to the Indian as not intelligent. They might see that, or just like all the stereotypes, right? They might just see that, and the kids, without knowing that these things are like from a different time, they'll just run with it and like internalize some racist tropes, right?
So the the whole thing, I guess, it looks like it started from a New York Times columnist named Charles M. Blow. And so he was slamming the cartoon character, saying that it added to rape culture, right? And then I kind of dug into the whole what was the scene was gonna be, what was the character supposed to be doing in this movie, right? So apparently there's a scene where Pepe is hitting on the cat that's voiced by I didn't get the actress's name, sorry, but even she protested to this when she found out that they cut the scene and Pepe Le Pew completely. In the scene, he hits on the cat. The cat doesn't like it, and the cat apparently hits him. And then he like spins in the chair, and LeBron stops him from spinning. And then something happens where there's like a restraining order between him and the cat, and then LeBron tells him, "Hey, you shouldn't just be grabbing on any Looney Tunes characters. Like, you have to have consent." Right. The voice actress, she was like, dude, like, this whole scene was kind of depicting like what could happen to you if you touch somebody without consent, and like a girl will smack you, right? Like if she doesn't, if but it shouldn't really get to that point, right? But I think that it was like a teaching moment that they could have used, and instead they were like we're getting this cancel culture shit like on us, so we're just not gonna have it at all. This is all stuff that you have to watch contextually, right? And when your kids watch it, you have to tell them like, hey, it just for context, like this was made back in the time where it was okay to be, to say these things or whatever. Yeah. So if you do that, there's no issue, I think. But to completely take Pepe Le Pew out of Space Jam, it's kind of sad to me. He was a character that I enjoyed a lot for sure. Growing up, I thought he was really funny, and the fact that a woman, right, the voice actress, is saying like, "Dude, why did you take this out? This could have been used, to show, the consequences of being inappropriate." They took it out, and she was upset about it. So, who are we pleasing here?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll answer that question because I had the same thought. Who's rallying up, individuals who have like the same thought and like going again, to take down the corporations or these cartoons or movies, whatever. And the second question is, does it represent, you know, the majority of the people, like those views, right?
It,
Because what's up,
I have
Gio?
I have a theory. Like it may not even be unless you have like there are people. Maybe it's not even viewers or people that consume the content. It may be the corporations themselves self censoring as a preemptive gesture.
Yeah,
Like
that's what it seems that Disney's doing is like
Self canceling.
yeah, they're self like checking their stuff, and they're like, yo, like this isn't good, this doesn't look good. Let's at least, if we're not gonna pull it, let's at least make sure that kids under a certain age can have complete access to this, because you know, I guess kids are impressionable, right? We like to think that video games, that even though Geo, hasn't there been studies of like, video games not transferring into like you actually going out and busting a GTA and killing a hooker and stealing the money that you use to get her to blow you, like.
correct. Yeah, there's no correlation really between like violent video game usage and actually committing acts. More it has more to do with like in general is like poverty, right? The number one indicator of violence, and also like mental disabilities.
Yeah, so wouldn't that also transfer to Disney fucking cartoons?
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so.
So I think we should use those fucking studies and be like, hey, Yeah, I think we're kind of good on this, you know, as long as you explain that you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, if not, we wouldn't have any movies that show anything wrong or bad, right? Like, but they're everywhere, right? And so, you know, even commercials and ads and posters and anything that you see, like, could have something inappropriate that you can be like, hey, you know, that's they shouldn't be seeing that, but it's all out in the open, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. And then, you know, somebody on my Facebook had an interesting thing to say was that these are just like things that are being created by, you know, not only the media but just like pundits, and you know, they get us talking about it when we have a bigger fish to fry, right? And we're over here talking about, oh, they're canceling fucking cartoons. Like, who gives a fuck? Right? Like, we're over here trying to get the Democrats to agree to give us 15 minimum wage, right? We got a bunch of Republicans voting no on all this shit that we need. Like, there's a lot more to talk about than these goddamn cartoons, but it riles everybody up on both sides.
Yeah, so I think that's they call that like a smoke screen. In philosophy, we call it a spectacle. It's basically like what you just said. You know, like you notice that the people are focusing on something very important, and you want to distract them from it. So you sway, you pump. And in this case, you'll pump that story and headlines. You'll pump them in social media in different ways, and it just kind of distracts you from what's really going on.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of those things that's going on because, you know, there's no way that anybody could truly care that much about cartoons and what they're showing on cartoons. The whole point of
Yeah.
cartoons is exaggeration, right? That you can do things that are exaggerated, and you know, I just can't see Disney doing that when there's shows like, you know, like Family Guy and, you know, the Cleveland Show or American Dad, where there's blatant racism, sexism, rape jokes, you know, abortion jokes, everything that you can find. You know, they make fun of, or South Park, right? South Park has been running since we were all young, and
Hmm.
that show goes above and beyond, like, you know, shock value, right? So if those things are out there and they're not worried about censoring stuff, I don't understand. I honestly don't understand why Disney, unless, you know, they could do it and it just creates like a lot of buzz for their own content, and then they're like, everyone he goes and be like, oh, I wonder what's so wrong with this movie, and then they just go watch it, and they're like, oh, we just got somebody else to watch our movie.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe.
uh, you know, I don't know. I just can't see the outrage is just stuff that I'm just not concerned with, right, at all, at all. Ladies and
Uh,
gentlemen, welcome to Discussion Lounge Debate Club. So Gio thought that it would be a great idea for us to have a little debate, and I came prepared. I don't know who debates in a sweater, and I don't know what he's got, like some video game T-shirt on.
No,
yeah,
that's not.
NASA shirt, a
He's got a
NASA shirt.
NASA
Oh,
shirt on, so yeah, so you know,
It's a
of
little appropriate.
course, it's okay. But I got hold on, move Bernie Sanders. We got Baby Yoda. He's gonna be watching me.
his name's
Uh,
Grogu.
Grogu.
Because he's an
I
alien.
got my junior debate winner medal here. Hector was there. Actually, I beat his ass. I think maybe he was part of that debate. I don't know. I think you were. I think, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think
yeah.
I beat that ass.
I was
You
disqualified.
were.
I was disqualified for saying a bad word.
You said a bad word in the middle of your debate and you lost. Loser. No self control.
Yeah,
Um,
nah. I think the teachers were just hating on me because I was going up against their top students, and I was crushing them, and they didn't like that. So like, we need to stop this guy. They gave me a double technical, and I was ejected.
yeah, I remember that. That was great, actually. One of my top memories of high school for sure. So Gio, he thought that the topic would be awesome to discuss aliens. Have they visited us before? Hector in debate in high school fashion didn't do his homework, so he's gonna be the moderator. So we're gonna do opening statements. Actually, Hector, you can go ahead and
Yeah.
moderate because
All
I
right.
gotta think about what I gotta talk about here.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first annual Discussion Lounge debate clinic. On one side, I have your master debater, Alan, and on the other side, I have your other master debater, Gio. They're each going to provide an opening statement on this question. Do aliens exist? If they do, to what extent? What are they? Where do they come from? Right? So each side is going to have opening statement, and then it's going to be just a free for all. They're going to go at it. I'm just going to make sure that they don't get out of hand. Um, I kind of wanted to. I want this to be like a, Trump Joe Biden part 2, right? Oh, shut up, man. So I want all that. So okay, so I'm gonna flip a coin, right? And then whoever gets it right, or Alan, I'll have you pick. All
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna flip a coin.
Tails.
Nope. Gio, you go first.
Okay. We should clarify. Actually, so the question wasn't
I object.
whether
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
what. Okay. So the question isn't that there aliens or not. Is that my position is that we have never been visited by aliens, and we're not currently being visited by aliens.
So with that statement alone, it implies that there are aliens, or that
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
very
Well, there
okay.
might be. Yeah. That's not the question. Is not whether there are or aren't. The question is whether we've been visited or not.
Well,
Just to clarify.
then Gio, you could start. I'm not gonna tell you how to start, but you could very well start by saying that you do believe aliens exist and why.
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Well, so this is my opening statement.
Thank you.
Um, so there's no my position is that there's no credible evidence that we are currently or have ever been visited by extraterrestrials. And let me clarify what I'm not saying. Like I said, I'm not saying that there is no alien life in the universe. That's not what I'm saying. The universe is huge and maybe infinite, so there's likely both simple and complex organisms out there somewhere, right? Very likely.
Okay.
But there's no scientific proof that they have come here to Earth.
Okay.
Let's talk about the evidence that is provided usually. For thousands of years, humans have reported unexplained aerial phenomenon and encounters with other worldly beings. But just because you see something you can't explain doesn't mean it's aliens. It's a huge jump to go from there's a light in the sky to extraterrestrials are visiting the planet Earth. Right? Uh, it could be many things, like it could be misunderstandings, hallucinations, and even faulty memories, right? Like our memories can't, like, we can't rely on our senses or our memories usually, because we're flawed, right? We're human beings. Eyewitness testimony is the worst form of evidence in science. It has been shown to not hold up to scrutiny in all circumstances because humans, like I said, are flawed. We need to bring the scientific method to the question, right? Uh, like when you examine a car crash, you're not there when the car crash happened, but you can examine what was left behind. Um, Sometimes people claim that aliens could be so powerful that they can remove all traces of evidence that they're here, and that's how they're able to maintain their cloak here on Earth. But then you can say the same thing about like gods or angels or even magical unicorns that maybe have the same powers.
Okay. So
Sorry,
oh,
I'm not. A few more minutes. One more minute. We also need to consider the idea that human militaries possess highly advanced tech that has not been made public. Without good evidence, everybody's just speculating on things. Let's look at the physics of the problem. It is self-evident that aliens have not conquered the Earth, right? There's no evidence unless you talk about reptilians, right? But that's also just more speculation, and they have not openly revealed themselves. And so the question is why? Well, our galaxy, the Milky Way, is a few billion years old, right? From what we can tell, and even while moving at a fraction of the speed of light, the galaxy could be completely colonized in just a few million years. Compare that with the lifespan of the galaxy, right? It's like 5 billion years old. We could, at moving at a really slow pace at say 10% of the speed of light, we can colonize every single star system in the galaxy in a few million years, in a fraction of the time of the lifespan of the galaxy. And yet we don't see evidence of stars being enveloped in solar panels or like massive construction projects that you would expect from some galactic empire expanding outwards. Uh, After all, these are the kind of things that life does, right? It simulates energy and matter and in order to perpetuate itself. If our galaxy had an ecosystem of interstellar alien civilizations, then you would have to have all of them agree to not openly interfere in primitive civilizations like ours. They would also have to agree. All of them would have to agree to not conquer the galaxy outright. Multiple alien societies with different histories and biologies, all agreeing on the same thing. Look at what we agree here on Earth. We don't agree much here on Earth, and we're from the same planet, and we're the same species. So how are you going to get multiple civilizations across the galaxy that all say, "Hey, we're not going to interfere with anybody, and if we do, we're going to do it in a cloaked fashion." All you need is just one civilization to be like, "Hey, I'm going to fucking do whatever I want, and there's nothing you guys can do about it."
Okay. So
That was a
before I,
fucking gish gallop. That was not an opening fucking
hey,
statement.
Alan,
Opening statement, 3 minutes.
That's long as fuck.
Alan, stand down and stand by.
Okay.
Okay, stand down and stand by. Gio, okay. So first of all, I didn't know this was timed opening. So I had no idea. So I don't have a clock with me. But I think that went on for like 12 minutes. Alan, I'm gonna let you do opening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you do your opening statement so Gio can hear it, and then I'm gonna have you immediately rebuttal to what Gio's opening statement is or was, and then Gio, you guys are gonna just start going at it. Cool.
Cool.
Okay. All
right.
I'll put a timer.
So yeah, that was a lot to answer to, right? And Gio definitely, is going off of the, he wants the scientific method, but I think that his last question was, well, let me go step by step, like what I have to say, right? So definitely, I think that we have been visited by aliens prior, and this is why I think that, right? There are ancient civilizations that we don't even know about, right? There's like the earth has corroded on top of these civilizations, that there's literally buildings that are being scanned. Like there's areas of land that are being scanned now with technology, and you can tell that there's structures underneath that we have no idea have been there. No, don't know how long they've been there. So we don't really know if there's been people here who have maybe achieved a certain technology, and then maybe something happened where they had to leave or anything. We honestly really don't know. But there's evidence of, what we do have evidence of is ancient civilizations who have seen what we are seeing now, what people are claiming to see now, right? And that is UFOs, something coming from the sky. Geo says that they could be misunderstandings, or they can be hallucinations, but fast forward to 2021, 2019, whenever, there's been highly trained military that are handling very high speeds at very, crazy velocities in jet planes, right? These pilots, and they have witnessed these encounters as well. So I think that for us to say that these highly trained individuals who have their pilot training, and they're out there surveying the skies, and they're seeing these things that they can't explain, I think that we should take that into account, very seriously, actually. So on top of that, we have the government secrecy, right? We have places like Area 51 that we don't know what is in them. We have government agents who have come forward and said, I had a job here or there, and I've witnessed things that I can't explain. There's even accounts from people like Bob Lazar, who is out there, who he says that he came across an element that's not even on our periodic table, right? So he doesn't know how it got there. He doesn't know He was used. They used him to reverse engineer this propulsion system that they had stored away, and they didn't know how it worked. Right. So this is a story that he never wanted to get out because he was getting harassed by the government. So the motives there, I don't know what they could be. Right. So we have all that, and then on top of that, we have just human accounts, right? We have people with cell phones, of course. Fake footage can be taken, of course, but so much of it, I don't know. It's kind of sketch, right? Another thing I wanted to add is since the COVID bill talk is famous is popular right now, the COVID bill actually had a part in it that required intelligence agencies to disclose all UFO info in 180 days. So this is something that, and like Gio said, UFO doesn't necessarily mean, alien, but if it's technology that's way beyond stuff that we don't have, we know other countries definitely don't have. If it's stuff that's breaking like the laws of our physics, which our military says they have seen it, and they've had not only is there visual accounts, but their radars have seen it and experienced it. I don't know what else can be considered actual evidence.
Okay, excellent. Alan, I'm gonna have you go again, but I'm gonna have you address whatever part you want to address for Gio's opening statement, and I'm gonna give you guys a minute each to do
Okay.
that.
All right.
All right, I'll have it timed right here.
All right. I think I kind of answered it, but like I said, I'll go again. I think that we have been visited. If we go back to ancient civilizations, right, we even have buildings, right, structures that we don't know how they were made or how they were put there, right? There's technology at that time that we did not have to move structures of that size, to create structures of that size, and within those structures, right, you have hieroglyphics of UFOs, of things that are coming from the sky. We see this over and over, and not only do we just see it in Egypt, right? We see it in the Mayans, we see it in the Incas, right? We see it across the world where they were seeing these things, right? So to me, it can't be like a coincidence, right? I like to cite the real quick the ancient sites right now that we have no idea how they got there, right? So that's Easter Island, the Teotihuacan pyramids in Mexico, the Stonehenge, the
Time,
Egyptian pyramids. One second, the
time,
Nazca,
time.
the one second, the Nazca lines in Peru,
Mr.
and
Trump, time.
one second, and the fortress of Sixayuhuamen. Right, so those are all sites that we don't know how they got there or how they were built. Sorry, go ahead.
Got you. 1 minute.
So yeah, so there's a couple things, right? There's the jet pilots that have seen things that are reported to be otherworldly. We have the story of Babelzar, and where's that?
Hector, you're breathing right into your mic.
Oh, the sector. Okay, cool. So Babelzar, and also I'll start with what's known as the ancient astronaut theory, right? Which is referring to the idea that uh, ancient civilizations could not have built the megaliths that they built, like for example the pyramids at Giza or the pyramids in Mexico, that they needed to have had some sort of assistance from extraterrestrials with their advanced technology, right? So people sometimes claim that these megalithic structures were not constructed by humans and could not have been constructed by humans back in the day. But I think this is sort of a like a modernist perspective and or a Western centric notion that humans from 2,000 to 3,000 years ago were stupid or inferior. When in fact, it's perfectly reasonable that humans did develop the knowledge to build things and to
Time.
acquire knowledge, but they've lost it due to societal collapse.
Well, that's something that I mentioned, right? That we have societies that we don't even know about, that like their buildings have been corroded by like jungles and stuff like that, and they might have had the technology to either travel or they got here from somewhere, right? So I did throw that credit out there. I didn't say that they were dumb. That's a straw man.
Okay, so one thing is to say that these civilizations did it themselves, and that they lost the technology, or they lost the knowledge. And another thing is to say that extraterrestrials from another planet came and helped them out. Right? There's two different ideas there. One, I think, is more likely and is a lot simpler to propose. Right? According to Occam's razor, you have to say that what's more likely, that these civilizations had the technology and they've collapsed, like we know civilizations collapse from time to time, or that we are being visited from by some interstellar civilization from like hundreds of light years away, and they're coming down here with like massive amounts of technology to change everything.
Okay.
I would say it's the first one. That's more likely to have happened. We could talk about Bob Lazar.
If you want
Over.
to, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The
So
Pokemon?
Bulbasaur. Bob
Oh.
Lazar, he claims to have worked at an area near Area 51, a site called S4. There's no evidence that S4 exists. He claimed this back in the 80s, right? And he came forward in the 90s. There's no evidence that S4 exists. We know that Area 51 exists, right? We everybody knows that exists, but S4 we don't. There's never been evidence. He claims to have worked on. He worked with a unit that was reverse engineering alien technology.
Hector, your
Uh,
mic. You're breathing into your mic.
uh, when he speaks, I get the impression that he's smart, right? Bob Lazar, if you actually listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
However, he gets a few things wrong in his story. He brought up element 115, right?
Yeah.
He claims he laid out the properties of this element, that it's radioactive but pretty stable. Well, since his story in the early 90s, we've actually synthesized element 115. We did it in 2003, and the element is very unstable. Like there's no the properties that he claims to element 115 has, it does not have. So there needs to be some reconciliation there, like how what's up with that. He also claims that he went to Caltech and MIT to get degrees in physics and engineering. My question is, why would he go to both schools? Like, what is he trying to prove? Right? It seems like a story that you would make up, that, oh, I went to Caltech and I went to MIT and I got degrees in both schools, right? I got PhDs and master's degrees from both. There's also no evidence that he ever went to those schools. Like you can look at the records and you can't find him. Even other ufologists have come and investigated his story and looked up, like, did he go there? And there's no evidence that he ever went to these schools. The professor that he claims that he was taught under is the same. He gave a name, right, for the professor. That professor does not work at Caltech or MIT, but he does work at a community college that Bob Lazar went to, right? So the those are odd things to lie about. And so then he gives a really fantastic story about working reverse engineering alien technology. I don't think he's a very credible person.
Alan.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about Bob Lazar forever. If anybody actually wants to see, he had a long conversation with Joe Rogan. So you can kind of follow that. He is not the only source that I was citing, but yeah, definitely he's one of them. A lot of the first thing that you said, right? You said that either this ancient civilization had the technology to move these structures already, right? Or they got help from an outside alien source, right? And you said that you believe the first one more than right.
It's a simpler
It's a
idea,
simpler idea.
and it's simpler idea. It requires less baggage and less like speculation. We know that civilizations collapse from time to time and lose their knowledge and technology, and so it's not unreasonable to believe that that's the exact same thing that happened there.
Okay, so couldn't it be possible that like an alien landed? Nah, let's not go there. I want to go back up to my up to this, right? So yeah, if you believe that they already had the technology to move these structures, then what explains the sightings from the military, right? They have sightings of these objects that are going from hundreds of miles an hour at Mach speeds, and then completely stopping and making like a 90-degree angle turn, and then like dropping elevation insanely, quickly, and then moving back up, doing all these weird things that no other thing that we have can do. We don't know any other country has. why do you think that these encounters are not credible?
It sounds like you're referring to the Tic Tac incident off the coast of San Diego, right?
Hmm.
The jet fighter was on with the pilot, I think, was on with Joe Rogan at one point, or if not, with Lex Friedman. But yeah, he there was a report of a an object that was in the shape of a Tic Tac that was moving very rapidly and was fly up and down and in a very like in a almost unrealistic or physically impossible manner, right? Um, so we there has been analysis, and there's also video, right, to corroborate their stories.
Hmm.
There's like three different videos of it in the targeting cam for the jet fighter.
Yeah.
So there has been analysis on the video itself, and it does show that you can make the if you do the math and you can make the argument that what they're seeing is not actually an what they think they're seeing, right? In one instance, there's a object moving really close to the sea, right? And they're tracking it, and it's moving very rapidly, right? And it looks like it's moving really fast close to the ocean, and they're tracking it. Uh, you would if you do the analysis, and you can get into
Hey,
that, right?
Gio.
Your
Hold on,
your
sorry.
your mic is hitting your jacket.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
So you can do the analysis, and you can show that it's actually not moving fast. It's actually the jet fighter that's moving really fast, right? So, and then there's another image or video of an object that's like rotating, and that looks more to be since it's an infrared camera, it's actually picking up the exhaust from an airplane that's really far away. And so in all these circumstances, you can say that they're actually being misinterpreted for what in a way that's it's not really what they are. Um, One thing I would bring up about jet pilots is that yes, they are trained at engaging with other aerial objects, right? But they're not scientists, right? So they're not trained in actually analyzing and employing the scientific method in real time to say, okay, these are all the possible things that it could be, even things that I'm not aware of, right? That and then analyze the situation in that way. If you ask astronomers, right, who spend all their time looking at the sky, at the night sky, you never hear about astronomers reporting UFOs or things that they can't explain because they're actually trained in analyzing things that they can't explain and trying to explain them. Right, a jet pilot doesn't necessarily have a scientific background, and so would not be able to account for all the possibilities of what's actually going on.
Yeah, but those very same scientists and astronomers can't account for things like the structures that I was talking about in ancient pyramids and stuff like that. So just they can't explain it, so they just move on to other shit, right? But
Yeah, but just because you can't explain it doesn't mean it's aliens, right?
yeah,
That's like
I
a
agree.
huge
I
jump. It's a
agree.
huge jump, right?
But it's not a huge jump when you consider everything, right? Because I'm saying consider everything. Everything that I threw out in my opening statement when you're talking about ancient civilizations. We're talking about drawings. We're talking about lines in deserts, right? We're talking about all of these countries having the same things, like from Peru to to Egypt, right? Where to Incas to Mayans. We're having all of these encounters being documented on the walls. We have these structures that we can't explain how they got there. When you the military, right? All the secrecy, all the money and the defense budget that's going to all this stuff. Like, I found out that in the defense budget we had $22 million aside for something called the AATIP, called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. So this program no longer exists, but it was ran by a military intelligence official who was quoted saying that they found compelling evidence that we're not alone. And this was something published by CNN. And in 180 days, there was something in the COVID bill saying that they're going to have to tell us what the hell these UFOs are. Right? So all of that collectively, right, is what I'm looking at. I'm not just looking at one piece of evidence or just using one thing as the end all be all. But when you look at all these things as a whole, and then you consider, how vast the space is. Where we just landed on Mars with a rover, and we found out that there could be a possibility that there was frozen water. Uh, I don't know. I think that there's a higher possibility than you think.
Um, there is a possibility. I'm not claiming that there is not a possibility. I'm saying that there's no convincing evidence for it. And yes, you've laid out a bunch of data points that show that something weird is going on, but there's a lot of weird shit that could be going on before jumping to the conclusion that there's aliens, right? You have to consider the fact or the idea, the possibility also that things are just misinterpreted for what may not be there. Um, yeah. So like we're jumping to conclusions. You can't just say this is. I can't explain this. I can't explain the ancient megaliths. I can't explain aerial phenomenon by jet pilots. I can't explain any of this, and then jump to the conclusion that there's aliens. That's not a scientific approach to things. You need to consider first what is more likely, and the first thing that you would consider is that people are misinterpreting things, misunderstanding things. They don't know what they're seeing. Because they're not trained in being able to determine what they're seeing, and also like you said, the military is investigating aerial phenomenon that are unidentified and that could be threats. That's very reasonable, right? Because you could have it's also entirely possible before there's aliens that the Chinese and the Russians are working on experimental technology that's way beyond anything that we've seen, including the United States, right? They could all be working on these things, but that is more, it's a simpler theory. It's much more concise, and, in my opinion, much more likely than the idea that we're being visited by extraterrestrials, right? Out of nowhere, like people, when the people think, "Oh, there's something in the sky. It must be aliens." For me, that's such a like out of left field, right? Like, why do you have to go to here all of a sudden when there's so many other things that it could be, right? Before you actually get to uh, the craziest like explanation.
Okay, okay. All right.
All right.
So, okay.
My other last piece of evidence before I think we should wrap this up because it's been an interesting conversation. Let me just make sure that I get the dates right on this real quick. Okay. Yeah. So in 1996, actually, um, documents were found of an alien invasion, and Will Smith motherfucking knocked those fools out. And if you don't believe that shit happened, bro, you're crazy. That shit was legit. That was real stuff, bro. You could look it up yourself. Check it out. It happened. Yeah.
Star
That's
Wars was a Star Wars was a documentary, right?
yeah. Star Wars
Awesome.
was real. Grogu is real. Everyone,
Independence Day.
everyone who's from space has a British accent. That's something that,
Obi-Wan Kenobi has a British accent for some
yeah,
reason.
everybody, yeah, fucking Thor, everyone that's from space is fucking speaks proper English. That's something that we know. That would be something that I would hate if fucking aliens came down and they spoke that proper English shit. I'd be like, nah, man, I don't want to talk to you. Uh, anyways, guys, it's been interesting. It was a fun conversation. I think Gio got obliterated in this debate. Got dunked on. He
The
just completely destroyed. What else did they say in the
uh,
interwebs?
no, the everyone at home got to vote through text, like in American Idol,
Oh, okay.
and the numbers are in. It's a draw.
Oh no. Okay, we'll have to debate another topic in the
I'll
future.
take a
Then.
draw. Yeah, we'll continue this.
All right, guys. Discussion Lounge fans, thank you guys for sticking around. We did a fun little debate for you guys. Get you thinking about the world out there, the galaxy spheres. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks to my co-hosts and to our 22, 23 subscribers out there, whoever you guys are. Thank you guys so much for watching our content. Leave us some comments. Let us know who you guys are. That'll be cool. Let's engage. I think we're up to, I think we're like 600 plus views now, total views on our content. So that's really cool. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be having more stuff out soon, and we appreciate you guys. And let's let us know who you guys are out there. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to my
guys.
co-host, and yeah, guys, sign off.